It is Kendéll Lenice, and welcome to Kendéll Lenice Live. Sometimes my intro wants to play, it's supposed to play. Sometimes it has a mind of its own, but we're going to keep this thing. I know I'm a one-man band over here. I'm the creator, the producer, the sound person, the audio, visual, all together. You know, the marketer. And God, look, and I couldn't do none of it without the good Lord. Thank you, God. You know, I said my quick little prayer as I always do before each show. I'm so excited that you're joining me today on Kendéll Lenice Live. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so now. And to my guests, if you want to share this before I introduce you, please do that as well. All right, so I'm so excited about this show, like I am every show, because this conversation and this channel is all about education, elevation, and entertainment. And my interviews have a compassionate approach. Every time I do an interview and I'm like, it's the God in me that they're seeing, they're like, well, this was fun. This was a great interview. No one's asked these questions before, because I just like to have conversations. Yeah, talk show host. Yep, I am. I've interviewed so many amazing people that you know and even don't know. But my thing is having intimate, compassionate conversations, honest conversations with a compassionate approach. That's what I say. And today will be no different. When we're talking about the education piece of it, it is ALS Awareness Month. The month is May. You guys know that I'm big for promoting health and promoting authors who may not be known to everybody, but should be known to everybody. I'm talking today to the author of Unbelievable Grief and Incredible Grace. This is a memoir. And this book is a memoir based on my guest's father, who passed away due to ALS a couple years ago. And I've had Carrie S. Boone, who I have today, on my show before, and we were focused on her book. But today I want to focus on ALS. Now, it is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a nervous system disease that weakens muscles and impacts physical function. In this disease, nerve cells break down, which reduces functionality in the muscles that they supply. The cause is unknown, and they say it's very rare, fewer than 20,000 cases in the U.S. per year. Lou Gehrig's disease, right? I know Tabitha Brown. Everybody loves and knows Tabitha Brown. She's been open about ALS, as well as her mother passed away from ALS. Without further ado, I want to introduce my guest to you, author of Unbelievable Grief, Incredible Grace, a memoir, Miss Carrie S. Boone. I got your book up, girl.
Hey, Kendéll Lenice. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here.
And it's an honor to have you here. And I appreciate you taking the time to speak about ALS. We were going to do this interview last month. And then you told me that ALS Awareness Month was in May. So it was just God ordained. That was a no-brainer to do it this month. I'm going to talk about your book for sure, but I want to talk about first ALS and how you were brave enough to share your journey with your dear father, you know, struggling in losing his life to this disease. So when you think about May and ALS Awareness Month, I have two questions. Because I know when I survived colon cancer, I had no idea March was Colon Cancer Awareness Month. and I was diagnosed in March in Colon Cancer Awareness Month. So May, yes. So May, did you know it was ALS Awareness Month prior to your father getting that diagnosis?
I did not. I did not. It wasn't until I had begun to do the research once we got the diagnosis that I became, more aware and kind of like vigilant about, okay, May is an important month now. We now have to share information and kind of talk about it to help others. Yeah.
Yeah. And you found out. And so what has this month so far, because how long has your father been gone? It's been like 2 years?
It's been almost 2 years. 2021 is when he passed. Yeah, so it's been a few years now. Yeah, so when I think about the month of May, it kind of snuck up on me, to be honest with you. Time is just going so fast.
Yeah.
It's definitely, bittersweet in a way that he's not here. We miss him tremendously, but there's also a cause here. There are so many people that don't know what ALS is. It hasn't hit their doorstep. They don't know the symptoms that they're experiencing could be ALS. So I think it's important to bring awareness to it, especially in our community. And so the month of May has definitely been, even though it's the second day, it's kind of like insightful for me. I'm looking forward to share, with others what ALS is and how they can be helpful.
And I love that. You could have done two things. You could have retreated back and really grieve, as you're already doing, the loss of your father and be mad with this disease. But instead, you decide to use your voice to spread awareness. Why is that so important to you?
It's definitely important because I think knowledge is power. If you have knowledge of what you're experiencing, then you can be a voice to speak to what needs you have. You can be an advocate, whether it's for yourself or for your family. If you know exactly what the symptoms are, what the treatment options are, then you have a better chance of fighting the disease as long as you can.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. You said people are unaware of some of the symptoms and they might be suffering with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease now and may not even know. Let's talk about some of those symptoms. What are some of the symptoms?
Yeah. So important to note also is kind of like the age range that someone might recognize some of the symptoms, which the age can begin between the ages of 40 and 70. A lot of people are seeing this diagnosis in their 60s, which is what my dad experienced. He was in his late 60s when it happened. Some of the symptoms that, were alarming to him were tripping and falling. He was a power lifter. And so he was very strong and fit. And now he's tripping and falling. There's this weakness and, there's some breaking in his voice that's occurring. And as the disease progressed, ALS causes you lose the communication between your brain and your muscles. So there was an atrophy of muscles. So he lost his muscle mass and, he had uncontrollable symptoms such as like he could not lift his arm eventually to feed himself or walk, eventually paralyzing him.
Wow. A chill just went through my body when you just gave those symptoms, because my father had a similar disease. My father passed away December 1st, 2019.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, thank you so much. And he had a couple of things. And the main one, when I was 18, he was diagnosed and they first thought it was MS. Then they thought it was all these other 72 letter words, the medical terms.
Yeah.
And they thought it was a lot of different things. And for years, I forgot the last one that they thought it was, but they never said ALS, right? But my father had the same thing where he lost the density in his muscles and he couldn't know he was losing the muscle mass. And when you just said he could barely pick up his plate and couldn't lift, my father the same way. He was the same way. He couldn't, we would have Thanksgiving the last 20 something years at his house, and he would
Mhm.
have about 50 people, and we would be there,
Wow.
and I would make his plate because he held his plate low because he couldn't lift it, and then to be able to use it. Now he wasn't paralyzed, but he was losing the muscle mass. So when you just said that, and we didn't even talk about that was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was your father's reaction? And at first, did he know, or did he think, oh, it's maybe it's nothing, or did he immediately go to the doctor?
I think because my dad was such a strong, independent, and healthy guy, he just kind of like passed it off at first, like, oh, okay, this may be nothing. I think maybe because I wasn't in the gym this amount of time.
Yeah.
And then over time with the falls and the tripping and the weakness that continued to ensue, that's when he began to go
Yeah.
and get evaluated by neurologists.
And then that's when they told him directly that he had ALS.
Well, it took a battery of tests because it's not one of those diseases that people are able to readily recognize so quickly.
Uh-huh.
Well, it took months of different tests, spinal taps, EMGs, which is the electromyography that they can do by testing the energy or movement in your muscles. There
Mm-hmm.
was MRI, CT scans, samples of different bodily fluids. I mean, it was so many different tests that led them to this conclusion eventually. Yeah, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
immediate.
Yeah. And that's the thing, to try to rule out and to try to figure out, what's going on.
Yeah.
And then, and shout out to brother Calvin, your brother. He's your biological brother, but he's my spiritual brother.
Yes, he is. Shout out, Calvin. We love you.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
Mhm.
do. And I know that your brother went through a lot, losing his
Mhm.
dad, your dad.
Yes.
And I remember him barely being able to talk about it. And I know, you being the big sister, how difficult was it for you to deal with it with your mom, who I met is a lovely woman, and your little brother? How was that with you? Were you the one holding it all together, or, because I don't know, I just have a feeling you were the one.
Yeah, I certainly believe that I was the one that kind of jumped into my grief journey a little bit faster than everyone else.
Mhm.
I believe that you've sensed it correctly that I was the one that kind of had
Mhm.
to jump into my journey a little bit
Mhm.
quicker than my other family members
Mhm.
because we all process grief differently. And
Yes.
so while I don't want to say that I'm like the matriarch of the situation, and I think that I did have a great impact in kind of like educating them about the grief process and kind of like helping them come through, which we're still grieving. It's a lifelong process, but
Yeah.
both in that particular grief was different for each one of us. We're all at a different stage. Hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know why I sense that. And not even because you were able to even write down your thoughts and your feelings, because as a writer of many, many, many years, it's so cathartic to be able to write down your feelings and your
Hmm.
emotions and kind of place them and put them together. Did you find healing in writing?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And did it
One
start
of
off as a book, or was it going to, were you just
the
journaling and then you turned it into a book?
right. So no, it was never a book. Like definitely not a book. It was just me journaling these overwhelming and turbulent feelings that I had even before my dad
Mhm.
passed and in experiencing
Mhm.
anticipatory grief. Like it was
Mhm.
just my coping mechanism, my coping process and journey to the grieving after, during, and after the loss. And
Yeah.
so journaling was my outlet. It was kind
Yeah.
of my way to jump into my grief journey in a way that I had not done before. And then I felt
Yeah.
led to share with the world because there were so many people expressing that they didn't know that, oh, I didn't know that was grieving, or I'm having this symptom. That's grief. I didn't know that. And so I was like, wow.
Let's talk about that, because I think that's so important. Let's talk about that. What were
Yeah.
some of the things that you were feeling and people couldn't identify them as grief?
Basically sadness, or being upset because, you know, your loved one is gone. Like they were like, you're supposed to do that. You know, losing my appetite because I just couldn't eat. I could not sleep for a period of time. You know, the anger and the guilt, you know, all of these different emotions that were coming about, and people were just, some people were not able to identify, like, oh, I didn't know that was grief. And so the book, you know, in the back, it has self-help, you know, journaling prompts and resources for ALS are in the back of the book. And so it's not just a narrative about my story, but also a self-help guide for the reader, and a journaling section for no one, you know, for someone who has never journaled before. Here's your chance. You know? So it's very helpful, and like you said, cathartic.
Yeah. And I'm going to read some of those, but for those that don't know, and I don't even know, I can't remember if I shared this with you before, but when I went back to get another degree in my 40s. So I got a degree at 41 and almost 47 in college. And so real quick, that's not a flex. That's an encouragement for someone out there. It's on my heart. If you want to go back to school at any age, y'all know my saying, it's never too late to remix your life. You can do that. Right. So that's not a flex. I'm going somewhere with this. That's encouragement for you.
Come on now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm no different than nobody sitting here watching. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the reason, yes, but the reason why I wanted to mention that is because the last degree that I got, I interned at Roberta's House. It's a Black-owned grief and loss center in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes.
And honey, what I learned about grief was heavy. It's so powerful. It's so necessary. It's so needed. And it's sad.
Yes.
I'm keeping it real. It's sad and it hurts. At Roberta's house, they had the grief in sections. What do I mean? Homicides, parents, children lost, babies lost, siblings lost. It was broken down in compartments. So when I went in to intern, wailing, crying, emotions, overwhelming emotions and feelings, right?
Yes.
And grief is real. And a lot of people don't understand that everybody grieves differently.
Right.
So if they don't see you crying, or if they see you quiet, they can't tell what grief looks like. I know you said it was sad for you, but how else did it look for you?
Yeah, so the wailing and the literal falling to the floor in despair, you know, the anger. Like, how could this have happened to such a man? You know, the guilt. You know, I wish there was more that could have been done. You know, the what ifs. You know, what if this and what if that? You know, but yeah, and the sleepless nights, of course.
Yeah,
the appetite changes.
Yeah,
and just feeling in this space of despair, just loss.
Yeah.
And what was significant this experience was my dad was a major attachment figure. And a lot of times in grief and loss, a person will grieve according to how close they were to the attachment figure. And so my dad was there for everything. And so now I'm living in this space. We are all living in this new reality of him not being here.
That's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to allow yourself to feel and to really express it in the words that you did so eloquently. Are you always able to express your feelings and your emotions? Or do you kind of, as the strong one and as the one that keeps it together, do you sometimes mask your feelings of grief to make sure everyone else is good around you?
No, and I
Good.
used to.
Good for
I
you.
used to. Before this particular loss, that is exactly what I had learned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I never saw my dad cry. I never saw I saw my mom cry, but it was always, you know, be strong. It was what I learned. It was how I was socialized. So it wasn't until
Yeah.
this loss that I was able to freely grieve and like
Mm-hmm.
freely express it in a way that anytime it comes upon it, it gets released, no matter where I am, what
Yep.
time it is, because it's a part of the healthy process. Holding all
Yeah.
of that in, suppressing that is definitely
Yeah.
not good for the body. And
Yeah.
so no, and I believe that's what makes me the strong one, because I am able to express it. And
Yeah.
then after a while your body adjusts to it. And so you won't cry as long, or you can sleep now, or your
Yeah.
appetite has turned now because you've allowed the process to do what it has to do, which is come through.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. And I just wanted to read the dedication um, in your book. It says the
Mm-hmm.
memoir is dedicated to my dad, friend, and mentor, the late Calvin D. Tucker Sr. And it says, Dad, you have taught me so much. Your parenting and guidance have allowed me to grow and be the woman I am. You were the calm in the storm. I surely got that from you. I see that. Thanks to the legacy that you have left behind for our family. And it's a great picture in here. I also wanted to read um, more. I want to read My Soul Anchored in that chapter. You talk about growing up. I went to church with my family on Sundays, and my love for the Lord got stronger and stronger as I developed into a young lady. I was around the age of 14 when I joined the church. After making this huge step and attending Bible classes, I better understood the decision that I had made. Months later, I decided to join a church auxiliary. I discussed this idea with my dad, and he suggested that I try the choir. So I joined the youth and young adult choir, and a singer was nurtured. Being in the youth choir was one of the most amazing times in my youth. This journey was very pivotal in my spiritual well being. Singing was not only my way of honoring God, but it became my outlet, my way of coping and getting through difficult situations. So, this being a difficult situation, two questions. Have you been singing?
Oh
And
yes.
second, how has your spirituality and your faith helped you through this? So, you both questions.
Oh yeah. So I sing all the time. All the time I'm singing. So and definitely some of the songs that I sing, I think about my dad because it would be his favorite song. For example, in the book I talk about Kirk Franklin's song "The Storm Is Over Now." Like he just
Woo!
loved that song, and so that was kind of one of the first songs I led when I joined the choir, as you know, as a young lady. And so yeah, so definitely
Could you
singing.
sing a little bit of can you sing a little bit of that? I hate to put you on the spot.
Let's see.
Just a little
No
bit.
more cloudy days. They're
Mm.
all gone away. I feel like I can make it. The storm is over now.
Whew. You just gave me a chill. Carrie, I never heard you sing.
And I'm usually not good on the spot. You know, it's been a long time, but
No, that I'm telling you, I got a chill. Comments are saying beautiful voice. Wow.
thank you.
I'm going to answer your question, Hannah, that you had, the comment that you made, but how has your faith gotten you through this difficult season, losing your dad to ALS, excuse me?
So I was definitely brought up, in the Christian faith, and I learned about God from an early age when I was a teenager. And so this particular loss, although I know God and I love God, initially I did question, like, hey, how could this happen to such a man?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was reminded about the intersection between grief and God's grace. And so my faith was definitely enhanced because my dad was supposed to suffer for a couple more years before he passed. Like right before he passed, we were having discussions about a feeding tube because he was losing his ability to swallow and breathe on his own. And so there
Wow.
was so much more suffering that he was to endure. But I really believe that God had mercy on him and God gave him grace and relieved him of the further suffering. So it definitely enhanced and strengthened my relationship with the Lord and my faith.
Wow. Wow. I love that. You're touching me, and you're touching those watching. I have a live comment. When my grandmother passed away, my mom didn't cry until like a week later. You want to talk about that delayed grief?
Yeah. Yeah. And so thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing that. I'm so sorry about your loss.
Me too.
Definitely want to honor that. But we all grieve in different times. We grieve differently. Sometimes there is what your family member experienced, which was inhibited grief. Inhibited grief means there's a grief that's not shown immediately. It may come later on, or it could not have been shown at all. It doesn't mean that your mom wasn't grieving. I think you said your mom,
Mm-hmm.
but she has her own process, and the way in which she was brought up in life to grieve, how she was showed to do so, will definitely manifest as an adult.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Let me see if I have another question, another comment. And I'm going live on Instagram as well. Come on over to my YouTube channel so you can see Carrie. This is ALS Awareness Month. My YouTube channel is Kendéll Lenice. And thank you for everyone who's watching on YouTube. Please subscribe and share this. This is going to help somebody when we're talking about grief. It may not be ALS, it may be something different, but this is ALS Awareness Month in May. And we're talking about Carrie's journey in her memoir. Unbelievable Grief, Incredible Grace, a memoir. Let's see what we have. Yes, singing helps me also, very therapeutic and nurturing for the soul. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
I absolutely agree with Hannah. Yes,
You
absolutely.
I'm telling you, I had a chill when you were singing in that little piece, just The Storm Is Over Now, that
Mhm.
Kirk Franklin song already, but just to hear your voice on the spot, that's when you know that you're gifted. When you can
Thank
sing on the spot. I can write on the spot, but nobody wants me to sing on the spot, giving me a warm-up time, none of that. But I will sing in the choir on the background, in the background.
I did that. I did that for you today. I did
I
that just for
appreciate
you.
that. Thank you. I appreciate that because at first I don't like putting people on the spot. And that's why I was like, and if you would have said no, I would have respected that too. But your voice, trust me, your voice being inputted, input, inputted in
Mhm.
that particular part, I'm telling you, it's going to help heal someone.
Thank
A
you. I sure.
100%. 100%. I want to read from page 55, chapter This Type.
Mm-hmm.
Grief came for me in a way that I did not expect. First of all, it came much earlier than I was accustomed to. Wait, isn't it supposed to come after loss occurs? And Hannah, this is for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And God had me turn to this page, so I know this is all
Come on.
ordained, because I turned to this page and we were just talking about that with Hannah, and you just answered that question. And I already had this in here and didn't
Wow,
even read it prior to.
that's awesome.
Wow. Wow. Wait, isn't it supposed to come after the loss occurs? Prior to my dad's transition, I would be personally introduced to another type of grief, anticipatory grief. What's that?
Mhm.
I am glad you asked. Anticipatory grief. This God is running this show right now.
I love it.
I had no idea it says what we just talked about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Um, Anticipatory grief is what one can experience months, days, weeks before loss or death of a loved one occurs. It is most commonly experienced soon after the diagnosis of a terminal illness. Initially, I believe that my dad's illness caused me to feel differently in a few ways. I experienced the same symptoms as normal grief,
Mm-hmm.
and I was left feeling ambivalent about the ALS diagnosis. At first, I felt like maybe there had been a misdiagnosis. I had remembered how convinced my dad was that his falls were due to some sort of back issue, form of
Mm-hmm.
back issue. It's
Yeah.
probably my back causing me to fall. I just need some strengthening exercises. I wanted to fully support my dad, so I initially helped him pursue this journey. So, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, with you were going along with your dad because you didn't want to, I guess, scare him in a sense, but did you feel that it was something deeper than the back issue?
After a while, I did. And I even, consulted with a friend of mine who works on a spine team. And then she even looked at it and was like, "Is nothing wrong with his back?" And I'm just like, wow, well, what? I hope it's not this other thing they're trying to say. And so it did come with a hard realization that that was ALS,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you can see this comment, but Hannah wants to know how she can get a copy of your book.
Oh, yes, definitely. Hannah, you can go to www.inspirationbycarrie.com and order your copy of the book. That's www.inspirationbycarrie.com. And Carrie is spelled Carrie.
Yes.
Thank you for asking.
Yes. We want people to know this month, ALS Awareness Month, Lou Gehrig's disease.
I'm so sorry. What did you say?
What do you want people to know about this month being ALS Awareness Month, Lou Gehrig's disease?
Yes, I definitely want to let folks know that this is a disease that's becoming more common in our community. I want to let everyone know that if you are having any of the symptoms that I spoke of, to ask your doctor to get you tested for ALS or get your family member tested for ALS. ALS also has a great foundation, like the ALS.org foundation. They have branches all over the world. We actually utilize the Maryland branch where you can get help with durable medical equipment. You have a comprehensive medical team where you are. There are two ALS clinics in Maryland, one at Johns Hopkins Hospital and one at University of Maryland. And I also wanted to let everyone know about the upcoming September 30th ALS Walk for the Cure, which is going to happen at the Canton Waterfront. So if you are interested, you can go to www.als.org, or you can also go to my website as well, because we have a team built for my dad. And we're actually going to do the first walk that, we've never done the walk before. So it'll be our first time this year.
I love that. And Ken, she's talking about in the Baltimore, Maryland area.
Mhm.
Um, wow. I think that that's amazing. And I think this is a great way to honor your dad. And I know for sure he would be so very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
What else do you want people to know about grief? And then we're going to have a little fun and we're going to end this show on a higher, I don't want to say higher note, a fun note, because I know this can be heavy when we're talking about grief and we're talking
Yeah.
about loss and talking about ALS. Someone out there, their parents or their sister or brother or cousin or auntie lost their life to
Yeah.
ALS as well. So I know it can be heavy. But what are the parting words you want to talk about when it comes to grief?
In grief, just know that your journey is your own. Don't allow other people to dictate or explain to you how long your journey will take. If you have the strength, lean into your grief, get help from a professional, talk to the people that love you, allow people to love on you. It's okay to be to yourself for a couple of days if you need that space to process what's going on. But then open up your arms to receive the love from those who are pouring it out to you, who really love you and care about you. And take your time in it. Grief is a lifelong journey. There's no time frame, there's no cutoff. It's a journey that you have to adjust to.
Yeah.
It's a part of who you are.
Well said. I have nothing else to say about that. That was very I have a comment though. Well said. Definitely, Hannah, there are 7 stages of grief. Definitely take some
Mhm.
time. We could do a whole show, and possibly I'll do a whole show on grief. But
Mhm.
definitely there's 7 stages of grief for sure.
Yeah.
I thank you so much. I know it's not easy to talk about your dad and to talk about your feelings and your thoughts dealing with this, because I'm sure it brings up, things. But I promise you, you are doing, as if you don't already know, you are doing God's work. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing during this time. So even through your grief, you are helping others with your book. And I want to make sure unbelievable faith, incredible grace. She told you all how to get it, and we're going to have some fun. But before we do, tell the people how they can get in contact with you on social media and your website once again.
Yes. So I also have an Instagram page. I'm at Inspiration by Carrie. And then you can also go on to my website at www.inspirationbycarrie.com. Carrie is spelled Carrie. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. All right, you ready to have some fun?
I am.
You're going to answer the question. You're not going to give an explanation, a reason, a cause. You're just going to answer the question. So we're going to
Okay.
start with this or that, breakfast or dinner,
Dinner.
night owl or early bird.
Night owl.
When it comes to vacations, adventurous or relaxing.
Relaxing.
Okay. All right. So your top 3 movies, every time they're on, you don't care where they're in, what part of the movie they're in, you're going to stop and you're going to watch them.
I'm watching Life. I'm watching Friday After Next. And I am what they are my movies. I love to laugh too. And I'm watching there's another one that I like. So I said Life, Friday After Next. Oh, and the second Friday. Yes.
Yes.
Every time they come on, I'm there.
Yeah. And
Every
I
time.
have to say, the set people always get on me and talk about Friday. The first one is a classic, but to me, the second one is the funniest. That's just
I
me.
love the second and third one. It's like I love those movies. So every time I'm watching them.
I love it. All right. So, any hidden talents? We know you can sing now, so that's not hidden.
I also design beaded jewelry.
Yes, you do. And I have a lovely pair of earrings from you that people compliment me on all the time. I still got to get my other pair. So we have to meet up so I can sign your book and get some earrings. But yes, and her jewelry is amazing. It really, and it's sturdy, and it's not no diss to anybody, but it's not cheap. It's quality. So that's important. All right.
Yes.
So what makes you laugh out loud, Carrie?
A good joke.
Okay. The
A good joke.
song that makes you go ahead.
Uh, a good joke or you know anything funny on TV. I just love
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah. So what is that song, that go-to song every time it comes on? You don't care where you are, you gonna dance.
I would say, that's a good question. I have to think. I jam to all types of music all the time.
Yeah. Look,
So
she's dancing now. I love it. I love it.
that
All
comes
right.
on, I'm doing it. So
Right.
it's color.
All right.
Now,
So
if a line dance comes on, I'm there. I'm in it.
if a line dance comes on, I'm with you.
I know it. I get up there and I learn it, and we're in it.
All right now. So using the first letter of your first name, how would you describe you?
Caring.
I love that. Last question. What brings you joy?
My family.
Nice. Carrie, look, people are adding their favorite movies. Coming to America, any New Edition,
Yes.
Bobby Brown
That's
song. As I wear my New Edition shirt. Look, as I wear my New Edition
it.
shirt.
I like that. I like it. Yes, Coming to America. How can I forget that one? Yes.
That's good. Carrie, I thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me on Kendéll Lenice Live. It means the world to me that you are here, first of all, and that you are using your pain for purpose. Y'all go out and make sure you go to Amazon.com and get Unbelievable Grief, Incredible Grace, a memoir by Carrie S. Boone. Get into that. Instagram, make sure you get her book. Carrie, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good night.
You too. It's my pleasure. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Kendéll Lenice Live. This is the interview series. It's all about honest conversations within a compassionate approach. If I could talk, a compassionate approach. I'm so honored to be able to sit here and give you quality guests, because it's all about education, elevation, and entertainment. If you don't subscribe to my channel already, please do so. And if you're on Instagram and you're watching, please go to my YouTube channel, Kendéll Lenice, and subscribe. And also share this with someone who needs to hear it. And also tell a friend about Carrie's book. Thank you for watching. Remember, you're a star. Don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Till next time, God bless. Peace, y'all. Thank you for watching.